I appreciate that.
Yeah, no
Thank you for
problem.
listening to the
And Chris,
following
you'll have
films
15
podcast.
minutes.
Today
If you
I'm
want to
joined
keep an eye
by
on your
Uwe
chat, I'll
Boll.
give you a
I had him on the
5 minute
show
heads
today to
up.
talk about
But
his latest film,
Uwe or
First
Chris, if
Shift.
either of you
First
have any
Shift is a
questions during the interview,
2024
feel free to
American
chat me.
crime
I'll
drama
be on there.
centered on an NYPD officer
Hey,
who's
how are you
forced to
today?
team up with a new recruit.
Good. After
First
dinner
Shift is
in
currently
Germany, so
available
it's all.
on VOD. Hope you enjoy
I'm
the show.
relaxed now.
Thanks.
It's very good.
You know, the last time I talked to you, it was right before, I think you were just ramping up for this, for the film. And I was really excited to check it out by having heard you talk about it. And I was really, really impressed with this one. I think you did something really special here, man. This is not what I was anticipating. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. I do enjoy your stuff, but this one, I think you leaned a lot more into the character side of things than I've seen in some of your prior work. And I was really surprised by how much time you give for characters to breathe in this film. Could you just talk about this project and how this one made you come back to the world of filmmaking, got you behind the camera again?
Yeah, I mean, I think the break was good for me in a way, to think about what kind of stories I love, to see myself as a film buff. And I felt like sometimes I'm very much, as you said, like story driven, moving it along, and don't develop the characters long enough. Here I was lucky because when Gino Pesi and Kristen Renton basically signed on to do this, they brought a lot more to, they said, look, over your German, you've wrote it in English, but we can add stuff to the characters to make it more real, to make it more interesting. And they did that. And I'm very thankful for it. It's like, yes, I watched hundreds of cop movies from New York and stuff like this. So I could do the story plots and what's happening with the mafia, what happens with the family with doing suicide, or the old guy with the dog. But they worked on their characters, and that was gold. Because they brought the humor in, they brought the backstories in. I told both, like, you develop your backstory. Where are you coming from? Like to Kristen, right? And she said Atlanta is a good way where her original family came from, and stuff like this. It got very personal. And I think to shoot in New York was also very bonding for everybody because it's so chaotic, right? It's like you cannot shoot in New York with like we had a lot of car driving, and then you have like 5 trucks following the police car, and they all get lost because one, you don't even get it. You keep driving, they got the red light, they standing there. Now the walkie-talkie, the contact is gone, and you keep shooting. And I think that made us very good buddies in a way, how we handled this really kind of a road movie, even if it was all in Brooklyn and Manhattan and Long Island, and we went all over the place, but it was all in a very, like in a way, small area, and not like in whatever, Africa or something. So it was a very good experience. And it made me get me very close to Kristen and Gino. She's in my new movie too, Run, what I just finished shooting. And the only reason Gino is not in, because I told him, I cannot have you both in my next movie. It's ridiculous. And, and we also, during the shoot, we really felt like that should be like having a second part or third part, or having like a few episodes or whatever. So I really hope that people will like it, and that we maybe get a chance to do another First Shift movie, to finish the story, not finish the story, to continue the story. What happened to them? I mean, I had a lot of just fun watching them interact, to work together.
Yeah, it's you can tell there's a chemistry between them that's undeniable. Watching them on screen, and you give them room to breathe and spend time and get to know each other. And honestly, there's the machinations of the plot and how that's moving along, but it almost feels like you're more interested in dwelling in their relationship and spending time getting to know these two people. And it's I love that you call this a road film. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. It's every scene you're moving from location to location. You don't really hang out anywhere, which is what's propelling the story forward as they spend this first shift together. It is something that is I could definitely drop in with these two characters again and see where they are 6 months, a year from now, and see how this has progressed as they both, sort of grow from being exposed to one another.
Yeah, that she settles in New York at one point, has her own apartment. You can all build that up, And what I like in the story, and that is why I want to, like, in a way, continue that story, is that it's not the typical thing. You have a case per episode, like CSI or whatever, where you have like, they will solve it now in 50 minutes and it's done. It's more like a mini series where it continues with their lives and the cases and the stories. I think that's the key. What will be the key for like making more episodes? That is the thing. It's like it was a very positive shoot and experience for me to do this, even if, of course, New York is very problematic to shoot. It's not cheap, but the thing in New York, what you don't get anywhere else, is nobody really cares that you shoot a movie. You just like you have two options. You're like Deadpool and you block the the Central Park and you spend $50 million, or you do it how we do it, you just shoot it. So and because the audience, like the extras, the people that are walking in the subway, they're walking on the streets, they're not waving into the camera, they don't care. They keep going their rhythm. And that makes New York the best backdrop for a movie. Because if you shoot in any other town, they will disturb you shooting. You will have to hire all the background actors. They're all extras, basically, and I think that's the advantage in New York, that you have that big city, and nobody really cares what you're doing. Even the police, we drove with the police cars. We had a permit, of course, to drive there, but a lot of times it's like this kind of, you're in between, like you say, you cannot stop the car here, but you just stop the car and you don't really care. And they have other things to do in New York, as to check your film permit.
Well, there's something that I think is really difficult to recreate when you have those controlled streets and you have all the extras that you're paying to come through. And there's something that just never feels fully organic about that. And when you have the complete indifference of a city walking past you in the background, there's something in that feels stolen in that moment that makes it feel authentic. It gives it that feel of a couple college kids making a movie on the weekend. And I don't mean that to say the film looks unprofessional, but I mean to say, like, it does have that stolen, like you're just dropping into a real moment. I think it lends authenticity to the film.
Yes. And I mean, I think what helped too was that we basically, can I check my dog quick?
Oh, yeah, of course. You're fine. You're fine.
I don't really know what's going on.
The great thing about pre-recording interviews, we can edit it out.
It's wonderful. Going live, I would never do it.
No, I know sometimes when we go live, I'm like, you guys are so brave. I would never.
Sorry about it. Because he was like barking and barking. It's dark here, and he always sees we have a raccoon in the backyard.
Oh, really?
So and then I have a standoff where he's barking at the raccoon endlessly. Now I just closed the door. He can bark another 10 minutes, and then I let him back in. It's like completely absurd. So
I love that. Well, the last time I spoke to you, you were actually, the camera was faced out your window, and there was it was in the morning, I believe, despite our time difference. And there was just this rolling hills. Are you at the same place now?
Yes.
Do you have, okay.
I mean, there's the wine region in Germany.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful.
We have all the wineries. It's really good, and that's the one of the reasons we moved from Vancouver in a way back to Germany, because of I bought 20 years ago the house here, and it's like this kind of like, it's in the green basically, right? So, and it's so nice and relaxing that we felt at one point, I told my wife, like, we're living in Vancouver, but actually the house in Germany alone is a reason to move back to Germany in a way. And she's from Vancouver, but she agreed. She said it has a positive impact on all of us to be more calm and not in the city. It's a reason I love New York, but I could never live there. Like, it's
A
kind of
wonderful,
like,
wonderful place to visit. One of the best
yes,
places in the world to visit. But
totally.
yeah, there is something about being. I live in Arizona. I think I need a slower pace to my life.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do
It's like,
appreciate that. So
yeah.
is just we'll get back to this in a second. Do you, because you're a restaurant guy, obviously, and being close to the vineyards and being close to wine, is that something that's important to you, or that made you there, or was it just the scenery?
Yeah, both, right? So because I'm a big wine guy and I like
Mhm.
wine, I had a wine club in my restaurant, what we closed at COVID times, and but I'm a big foodie. I like food,
Yeah,
and so I enjoy food. For me, the dinner is the time where everybody comes together, and you have this kind of relaxing time. And that was one other thing because First Shift plays mostly daytime,
yeah,
so we had dinners and it was mostly Kristen and Gino and me, where we were all in Brooklyn, we were in different hotels. They were in the same hotel. I was in a little shabbier hotel. And so, but it was like a mile away, so we could meet halfway through, basically. And there were like a few restaurants where we always then had the dinner at the end of the day. And that was also, I love that, to have this kind of like, okay, tomorrow 6 a.m. we continue, but now we have a nice calming dinner. That was also good, and I didn't have that in a lot of the movies. A lot of movies, they're all for themselves. You never really get a personal, like very close contact to the actors or something.
sure.
And so that was with Kristen and Gino. It was totally different, and it was very personal. And we talked a lot about why they went both away from Hollywood because they couldn't stay it anymore, right? So they both had similar experiences with their careers in Hollywood, and they felt like it's so bullshit there. So Gino's in Pittsburgh, she's in New Orleans, and I was never living in Hollywood, like I like New York more as LA in general. And Los Angeles was for me always like a kind of a long parking lot mall where you can drive 2 hours between two appointments in a
Mhm.
traffic jam. And that's the thing. It's like LA was for me always this kind uh, of course, as a film nerd, I love this standing in front of
Yes.
Paramount and I love this. But at the same time, you had the feeling that it's not really LA. It's like an illusion you had about LA.
Well,
So
that's what's kind of wonderful about it. It's the bullshit. I wouldn't want to live in it, but you're right. Like going there, and when I go, if I, you're on the back lot at Warner Brothers or wherever that is, and you look around, and you see the signs where it shows all the things that were filmed there, and those kinds of
yeah,
moments that you have. It's incredible as a film buff. But
yeah.
then that sort of that lack of reality kind of blends out beyond those lots, and I think it kind of feeds into the city itself. At least from an outsider, it feels that way to me. And New York
Yeah.
definitely feels like it's a little bit more of an honest city.
Yeah, totally. They are more direct than New Yorkers in general. All the actors are from New York, right, in the film. And I think the cops and everybody, it's very believable. All the parts are very believable because they're right from there. They all lived in Brooklyn. And that makes, I think, the film also good. There's so many films, they fake New York and Toronto and whatever. But you always feel it, that it's just like not real, so,
Yeah.
and yeah, but I mean, as I said, I would love to continue First Shift, and it was really just a great experience
And I think it shows. Could you talk a little bit, because I think that's what I'm responding to when I watch this film, is I do feel that everybody's on board for this project. I don't feel cynicism when I watch this. It can be a cynical movie at times, and some of the messaging can be cynical, but I don't feel it's made with cynicism. Everybody's all on board here. And about those, like having those dinners together and that bonding that you had, do you feel like that's something that translates to the final film itself?
Yes, 100%. And besides Kristen, also Daniel Soli, who played the mafia guy who killed
Oh, yeah.
So he is in my film Run too. I kept the contact to him, and it was also like a very, let's say, very close relationship. James Megamin, we went to dinner. It was important for me to have this kind of like feeling that they're all saying that it could be a good film. And they recognize too, like my camera crew came from Germany. We shot everything like kind of CinemaScope with the large format lenses. So it doesn't look like a TV show. I think that was important too. And what they enjoyed was that it's not like a superhero thing, like with tons and tons of money thrown at special effects. Everything what happens there, in a way, happens every day, and in the real world. And the question is how we handle it. And that they both had this kind of like, or Gino specifically, that he's this kind of like nihilistic guy, but you feel at the same time that he has hope, that he is happy. In the end of the day, he's happy that he has a new partner. And, and I think that is also a thing what got a little lost. That is the reason it was my comeback film after 5 years. And I felt I need to bring that human touch into it. This kind of like, it got so fake in the film industry too. Like, like there are a lot films, you watch them, but they're kind of empty. You have the feeling like they all do their job, they all make their money, and they're spending a lot of money in it, but you never feel real. You don't think that there's a real people. And that, I think we got that good with First Shift. You had the feeling these people could exist.
Oh, absolutely. This feels like a lived in real world. And it's not just, especially in your main characters, that you have in that dynamic, but even stuff when you go to the lieutenant or you go to their boss down at the station, those things in the interaction where they're finding comedy in these moments that I think while what they're doing is deadly serious, that they find moments of levity, which I that's in my experience, what I found people that have, or are in very serious situations, the few first responders that I know, they have wickedly dark senses of humor. And I think you see that here. And I think it does roll through. It feels honest and lived in this world.
And to add that too, what you said is we talked to a lot of cops, right? And I said like half of the time I'm more a social worker. So and it's true too, because if we see movies, they're all like investigating the homicide, having shootouts, right? But how is it really looking like in a shift? And it's like that thing with the dog is not so unusual. Maybe how it turns that he's not bringing the dog to the shelter. That is unusual. But overall, things like this happens all the time. That they have people, they lost their keys, they don't getting into their apartment, their own apartment. The normal stuff, what you do where you help the citizens. And that gets lost, of course, in movies or in TV series, because that's all about, you have the typical bad guys, and then, like they find out how they get them. And I felt like we can do this a little more real, like a little more like this up and downs. Like, that could turn dangerous, but the next one is more like a heartbreaking experience or something, Well,
it's almost like a collection of vignettes where there's the overarching story, which is really just the story of these two people. And then there's all these events that they move throughout the film. And it does feel at times almost episodic when they are jumping from scene to scene, but then there's also the larger story that's being told in the background. And I think it's a really nice balance that this movie moves. It goes by really quickly, which is really surprising for something. It's only, 90 minutes long, and there's not an ounce of fat on this thing, but it is something that for as long as you dwell in character moments, it still feels like it moves really quickly.
Yeah. And there was another thing too. I think the movies today are too long.
Yeah.
Like I go with my kids in the movies, and every film is 2 hours, 20 minutes, like Twisters, whatever we just went last week. And it's like, I said, why? It's on 110 minutes. It's enough of Twisters. There are more Twisters and Twisters as in the history of America in totally world. And they're all in the same area where you say, oh, look, now it's another one. That's completely absurd. Nobody would live in Oklahoma anymore if they would have so many Twisters.
Yeah.
Dog is barking. So, but the thing is, I don't even know how he got into the house because I closed the door. He came through the garden, through the kitchen. And the thing is that this feeling that Hollywood only knows one way now, bigger and bigger and bigger, it's wrong. It's just
I
like
agree.
the wrong. I think I wrote a whole thing. Nobody paid really attention to it, to like Paramount and to everybody, and said, look, the idea to steal more market share in making more and more expensive films is not the way it works. It's just you're on the wrong trip, And I think what the solution is to have that mix, what we had in the 90s or 2000s, where you had a taxi driver, but you had also Star Wars, so,
Yeah.
and that we don't have that anymore. Now we have only Star Wars, and everybody thinks, but where is French Connection? Where is, The Godfather or Dances with Wolves and all that stuff? Where is this? And that's the problem. And so I hope that, because the streamers, of course, are the only hope for the film industry, because there's no more revenues besides streaming. And I hope that they remember at one point, like the Ted Sarandos and whatever, remember their own childhood or their own, where they were younger.
Yeah.
And that they feel, okay, we have to go back to that blockbuster time where you walked around, and sometimes it was time you picked the DVD of E.T., but sometimes you pick the DVD of something surprisingly, and then you're like, wow, what was this? I think that's very important. When you see, Jaws behind you, the poster,
Sure,
is one
yeah.
of my favorite films of all times. I watched it like 10 to 15 times. And I had in a different podcast in Germany, I said, look, there are films, they are a masterpiece, but you never want to watch them again. Like Titanic was great, but I had no desire to ever watch that film again. But
Sure.
Jaws, I can watch every month. And that was done with styrofoam. That was bullshit. Yeah. But it's done because it's perfectly told. You're totally engaged to the people. You're totally engaged to the story. And the special effect doesn't matter. It comes across absolutely real. And, and that was the grip of a movie like this. And sometimes with Assault on Wall Street, with Darfur or Rampage, I try to, not like Jaws, of course, but I try to do this real stuff, where you feel like that looks for me like it happens right now. So
it's tactile. You can touch it. You can feel it. There's something to that. It's really there. That there is something that in our minds, that when you can reach out and touch something, that it's as realistic and as wonderful as special effects are. I think that a story that's told in the real world just holds more impact, to me personally, at least. And I think that there is an appetite for it. You keep seeing, like, once a month or so, these movies that are not based on existing an intellectual property that keep breaking out. Something like Longlegs just had a strong marketing, play behind it. And it's something that's, going to make $100 million when it's all said and done. And you have movies like that all the time, that there's these audiences that aren't being served. And, for me, an almost 50-year-old guy, I would much rather watch two people work on their relationship and get to know one another and have the human stakes be, are they going to be okay in the end, instead of the world might blow up. I can relate to those, like having a job that's hard. And like you said, the thing that you can project into this film from you, where sort of the lead is almost it's, sort of your avatar, where he's not sure that he wants to get back into the world again. He's a little bit trepidatious, but that he really wants to connect with a person again. You want to make a film again, but God damn it, having a film, really making films hurt. That's what I felt when I was seeing his performance in this, that he was playing you to some degree. And I think we all have that. We all have something, a passion for something that we love that burned us at some point in time. And it's just getting back on the horse again. It hurts and it's scary, but we all need to do it. Right.
And that was like with Gino. He told me, like, when COVID hit, he left LA. He had that Shades of Blue show with Jennifer Lopez and all that stuff. And then he went to Pittsburgh, and in the house of his grandma who died, and he was there with the dog and caved in, basically, right? So, and I felt we can use this. Because now, of course, we made it in the movie more dramatic with the kid who died. The wife left him because the kid died. The relationship was beyond repair based on this traumatic thing. And that worked, where you have the feeling, and in general, in big cities, I think that is why I spent in the beginning a lot of times with him. He wakes up, brushes his teeth, gets his, and goes in the subway, to make that clear, like, that is alone. In a big city where you have nonstop, because in New York it's crazy, right? You're never alone, but they're all alone.
Yeah.
That's the thing, the feeling after the months shooting there. I had that feeling like you are nonstop, 24/7. You have people around you. It's very tough to be ever alone in a back alley or, like in a park in New York. Every time there are people around, but they're all alone. They're all like, they think they are in a community, but they're not. They're all individual thing. And I think that came across, I think, with him, that, yeah, he keeps himself busy. He's doing his job. He knows that the captain and all that stuff. And it looks like he has kind of a normal life, but he doesn't. He's on the way to death, basically. And Angela puts new life in him, but throws him totally off because, of course, he doesn't want to allow this. He thinks he has to suffer endlessly based on what happened, but nothing was his mistake. I mean, the daughter had that illness. So, and I think that brings it across very good. And in the end, when the older guy gets his dog back, where he said, like, I couldn't die without knowing that my dog is fine. I, as a dog owner myself, can totally identify with it.
Same here.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. I have two.
If I die. Yeah. Yes, that because what happened to him. That was one of the little vignettes I wrote way before I wrote the script. Is if I would get a heart attack in a supermarket and they carry me out and they know my dog is leashed up there, I would not think about my heart attack for a second. I would only think, what will happen to my dog? Like, I need to have my dog getting taken care of. Nothing else would matter to me. That was for me also important. Kristen has 3 dogs, and so she could totally identify with this too. And Gino's dog is the dog we have in the film. It was Gino's dog. So we could all totally be on the same page, right? Where you feel like, no, for your dog, you give up everything. And, that's the thing. So it was, I think it's an unusual Uwe Boll film, because I did a lot of cynical, very hard films and whatever, where you felt like kind of cold about like Rampage and so on. But I think also that I'm happy that I was able to bring that emotions. And with that film I did with Amanda Plummer and everybody, the Run film, I think I did the same. It's different, but I that is going forward. My plan is to shoot more films and to not retire anymore soon. And I think that human aspect of it, what makes you feel connected, will help and will be better. I think in a way, when I did the very cynical, hard films, it was a different time. And I think now, political and every turmoil in the world we are, I think it needs films. They are kind of analytic, but also give you a positive spirit.
Yeah.
Where you feel like it's not all bullshit. It's not all cynical. We're not all just dying in a third world war or something. No, it's worse to live, to be alive, And I think that was this kind of result out of this 4 or 5 years where I did any films, because of course we all got dragged down. We had COVID, now we have the wars, the Ukraine, and all that stuff, inflation, and you feel like no, humanity is important too.
Oh, yeah, above all else. All the other stuff is secondary. And I think you actually, I know we're out of time, but I have to just, that one thing that just so beautifully encapsulates that. It's the thing we all need to learn in life we have to remind ourselves of. And it's just living for something beyond yourself. When you live for only the things that are in your head, you're going to have a very empty, unfulfilled life. But, if you're having that heart attack and you got to go get your dog, get them taken care of, you got to go out there and take care of, your wife, your spouse, you have the volunteer work that you're doing, anything like that, that's a calling beyond yourself. That's it. That's what life is. It's just making those distractions go away, the things that are, your own mind to some degree. So yeah, I'm really glad that you're heading in this direction. I really enjoyed the film, and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Run, man. And hopefully we'll get to chat on that one too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it was great to see you again. Go get that dog. Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Time enough to figure you out. Time enough to write this down. Wish me luck, give me hope.